Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Are you feeling charitable? Then smash the subscribe button and the like button, and please do follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to Wednesday's edition of the DCEU Daily, and you are very, very welcome. I'm trying to crouch down and get away from the sunlight because you know, how are you going to see my beautiful face if that sun's in the way, right? So I don't want to be doing that yet. Vain bastard alert. So basically, right, what we've got for you today is Sean O'Connell, who's been writing and released the Snyder Cut book, has officially confirmed that he's spoken to Zack. We'll be discussing what we found out about that. Henry Cavill quotes Superman for Black Lives Matter, and I think it's amazing, by the way. And David Ayer comments about the betrayal of Jared Leto by Warner Brothers at the time, and we talk about that as well. So a massive episode of today's DCEU Daily for you. So let's get started. Yes, Sean O'Connell from Cinema Blend has confirmed that he has interviewed Zack Snyder, and one of the takeaways he hasn't told us the whole interview, of course, that would be silly, but yes, apparently Zack said in an alternate universe he remained to fight for his version of the DCEU. So Zack, if you ever see this video, which you won't, but just in case you do, let me say this. You did everything you could. They drove you out, Zack. They drove you out. You know, you completed your movie and, you know, your vision. That was a massive achievement, considering how difficult they were making it for you. Nobody blames you. We all know you did what you could. You know, you knew we were desperate for you to remain and, you know, execute your version of the DCEU, which was deep and beautiful and stunning and exciting and epic and awesome. And we get that. Nobody blames you, and certainly nobody should blame you. You stuck it out for as long as possible. But you know what's great, Zack? You're back. You're back. We are going to get the Snyder Cut. And it might not be in the way we originally thought we would, but we're going to get it. It's becoming a massive event. It's very exciting, and you never have to feel bad for leaving. You did what you had to do. They made it impossible for you, Zack. So top respect to Sean O'Connell for getting the interview, and Zack for saying that. But at the end of the day, Zack, you've done everything. Without you, there is no Snyder Cut. There is no Zack Snyder DCEU, and there's not Zack Snyder's Justice League. So you have nothing to feel bad about or wish, you know, in an alternative universe you remained. You couldn't have remained, Zack. They made life impossible for you. But respect to you. Right, Henry Cavill has quoted Superman when talking about Black Lives Matter. Here's the quote from Superman. There is a right and a wrong in the universe, and that distinction is not hard to make. Quoted by Superman. Now that's awesome. Awesome that he's giving this quote for Black Lives Matter, because it's a beautiful quote, and Black Lives Matter right now is the most important thing going on right now, apart from COVID-19. Yes, if you're going to demonstrate, please social distance for your own good and the good of everyone else you're going to come into contact with. But, you know, I'm with you, comrades. Black lives do matter, and everyone needs to understand that. Everyone. Whatever your views, whatever your opinions, it's time to re-educate yourself. All human beings are valid and important, and each one of them, whether they stay within or without the law, deserve to be protected and to be served. So what else could we deem from this quote? That he's still Superman, that he's going to return as Superman. Quoting Superman is very important. Of course, it's very important in terms of Black Lives Matter, but it's also really cool that Henry's actually quoting Superman. So it is looking really, really positive for him to return as Superman, and that, my friends, is really, really awesome. And I can't wait to see him suit up again in whatever kind of form he does that in. Well, no wonder the Disney shills are really nervous about HBO Max, and their analysts have been giving it really, really bad reviews. Apparently, having a variety of films is a bad thing. But never you fear, Warner Media fans, AT&T fans, and HBO Max fans, because so far since last Wednesday's launched, HBO Max has gained 30 million plus subscribers. You don't need to ask me if that's good or not. You know it's good. It's amazing, because if they were to kind of get near that this time next week, they'd be just under 100 million subscribers. So basically this thing is big, and it's going to be bigger, because just imagine if that's what they've got just in America. And Canada, I assume they're available in Canada. Canadians, comment down below. But wait until they go global as well. So this is a bigger look. Next to basically the size, and I'm talking about content, right? When you look at content, HBO Max, Netflix, and Prime Video have got the most content from all the others. Now, purposely, I'm talking about Disney Plus, that just certainly does not have enough content, and it certainly has the content on its books to compete with HBO Max's amount of variety of content, but they want to stick to the family-friendly environment. But meanwhile, the Disney shields will tell you how perfect Disney are and how they haven't done anything wrong. Let's not talk about the aspect ratio on The Simpsons, right? By the way, I don't know why people care about it so much. I don't. I prefer a full screen anyway. I hate it condensed like that. But anyway, that's how people want it, and that's how it's going to be. But anyway, so Disney's launch wasn't perfect. Anyway, great news for HBO Max, and it's looking good. And the leader of HBO Max has reiterated that he has no regrets about Zack Snyder's Justice League. He's not saying they're going to grant every fan's movie wishes, but if there's a project that makes sense, and he goes, it's very important that the fans are in charge. If they tell us they want something, we should at least listen. So this is really great from Warner Media. They're making all the right noises, and Access Media really don't like it. Right. David Ayer hasn't been speaking as much in the past couple of nights. I think to be respectful to the Black Lives Matters hashtag, and there was Blackout Tuesday yesterday. And I think he was a little bit shell-shocked with the argument between Kathy Yang and Grace Randolph. And Grace Randolph's gone very, very quiet now. She's blocking a hell of a lot of people. I'm okay. She blocked me 2 years ago, right? No. 3 years ago now, so yeah, that's fun. It takes getting used to, but you won't miss her that much. But believe you me, she isn't what you all think she is. And she hated Man of Steel, by the way. Oh, she said she liked several things, but she did say Zack Snyder and David Goyer should be removed from the franchise. Yes, this is the supporter of Zack Snyder, whose butt you're all kissing. Anyway, let's talk about David Ayer. Jared was pretty mistreated during this. No one has seen his performance. It was ripped out of the movie. I repeat, this is from David Ayer. Jared was pretty mistreated during this. No one has seen his performance. It was ripped out of the movie. Now, this is very interesting. Still, this is from Release the Aircut. This is the actual Twitter account. Still can't believe that just a few hours ago, Jared Leto liked one of our tweets from our campaign. We're glad our campaign have brought many smiles to people's faces. It did, and thank you. Release the Aircut. Yep, they're a great bunch of people on there, and I absolutely support Release the Aircut. So this is what Jared actually liked from Lord Yamaka, Lord Above. Interesting name. But anyway, and he's got I do follow this guy. He's a great guy, by the way. I want at Jared Leto to know this. I hope he comes back as the Joker and proves people haters wrong about his performance. I also hope he plays the Joker at least, say, 2 or 3 more times. Don't we all, mate? Especially how, like Suicide Squad should have been. Release the Aircut. Brilliant. So there's a lot of positivity. Jared doesn't really respond to fans. Jared's in his own world, or he's in his shades, and there's but he doesn't really respond that much. So that was really good. What that basically says is that Jared Leto wants to return as the Joker, and Jared Leto wants us to see his performance in David Ayer's Suicide Squad. These are all very, very important things, and I'm happy that he liked the guys. Look, this is what I mean. For nerds, these are big, these are big deals, It might not be Black Lives Matter, and we understand that's the most important thing right now, and no one's saying it's not, but I'm sorry, we can't just sit here in a ball. There's people with mental health issues. We need to distract ourselves from, lighter things that make us happy, a film or a piece of music. That doesn't mean we're not supporting Black Lives Matter. It means that psychologically, mentally, we need other stuff. We need positivity as well. And it can't just be about the negative stuff. And I know the fight is a kind of positive thing. And as I say, most of I think there's more peaceful demonstrations and violent demonstrations. That's for sure. It's a shame that the right-wing media decided to represent the burning buildings rather than the peaceful solidarity between the sheriff's office and demonstrators as well. But it's all good, and I certainly support Black Lives Matter and the demonstrations because it's very, very important that message is put across. Now, on Jared Leto, could he return as the Joker? Look, one of the things I regret, and one of the things I was really excited about, because Ben Affleck and Jared Leto were one of the two of my favourite actors even before they joined the DCEU, and I just thought, wow, Jared Leto's Joker on screen with Ben Affleck's Batman, how awesome would that be? And the closest we got to that happening was literally Batman on top of the Joker's car or Harley's car or whoever they nicked it from, right, when they're joyriding. That's the closest we got in the Suicide Squad movie, right? Those two should have been on screen together. And I'm sure, I think maybe he could have even appeared in the Batman, but surely Jared Leto and Ben Affleck appeared on screen together. And I think that could be the most powerful Joker-Batman dynamic on screen ever. We were robbed of that. Ben was robbed. Ben was robbed, full stop, and so was Jared. And all because these people, Zack, David, whoever, wanted to make a more darker, brutal, compelling, realistic universe. And they weren't allowed to do it because of a bunch of crybabies can't handle, deep cuts, deep, emotionally compelling storytelling. And they just want everything to be like the Avengers. Well, go and watch the Avengers then and leave us alone. Right, so hopefully we're getting the gang back together and we can redo this. We can go back and do these movies that we were robbed from. The performance of Jared Leto in David Ayer's Suicide Squad, we were robbed. The artists were robbed. And it's important that this is released. I do absolutely believe with absolute conviction that David Ayer's Suicide Squad will be released. I have no doubt about that. I don't think there's an issue there. But it's really, really good that he kind of interacted some way with the fan and he liked the post because it is positive to see fans saying release the Ayer cut because Jared and the cast were very proud of David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad. And as I say, that was taken away from them. These things happen all the time, but not like this. Look, there's multiple cuts of a movie, and ultimately there's bits and pieces that have to be cut from movies naturally, and that's hard for a director as well. That's not what we're talking about here. When you hear Access Media going, hey, guess what? Everyone has multiple cuts. It's not the same thing. We're not talking about multiple cuts. We're talking about a director's vision being messed around with. Totally. Why bother getting a director? Why not do what Margot Robbie did with Kathy Yan, which is pretty much bring in a director because so she can say she's representing Asian women, right? And then say to her, oh, by the way, what happens in this film isn't up to you, it's up to me. Basically, I'm going to tell you what I want and you're going to tell the cast and the crew to do it. And that's the blatant truth. And I think Chris Wong Svensson did kind of cover this a little bit on his ping pong flicks. What did Kathy Yan mean? What was she talking about when she said to David Ayer, I know how you feel? Was she trying to do a Nolan-esque and Birds of Prey? Was Jared Leto in the film and was it cut? What really happened here? And it's pretty clear that Margot Robbie didn't want Jared Leto in this movie because if Margot Robbie was passionate enough to say, I want to take control of this character in one film, she could have said, I want Jared Leto. No, instead, they just brought in a lookalike for a cameo. It is pathetic, right? It is pathetic how they've treated him, right? We were going to have two amazing movies, right? So now we're in a situation where Margot Robbie isn't pulling the strings anymore. Now, whether she likes Jared as the Joker or not, I couldn't give a flying S, right? Those two need to be reunited on screen. Harley and the Joker, which is what we were going to see in Gotham City Sirens. I think one of those films was definitely going to be done by David Ayer. I just think the whole thing's a tragedy. And we need to bring these people back to do these projects, because these things were going to be really awesome by people who get DC. David Ayer understands DC. Don't care what you think. Zack Snyder gets DC. Don't care what you think. These are the facts of the matter. And just because a bunch of bitches who like Avengers, right, were a bit, no, this is too dark and scary. Nah, sorry, your time is done, right? HBO Max confirming Zack Snyder's Justice League is a massive thing. And hopefully sooner rather than later, not Zack, he didn't do Suicide Squad. Imagine Zack Snyder doing a Suicide Squad. That'd be an interesting film, right? But anyway, right, and I'm very confident that we're going to see David Ayer's Suicide Squad. And that's really, really exciting. Just my final thought for today before I go, that there's a lot of serious shit going out there. COVID-19, the death of the black guy by at the hands of a police officer. Who would have thought? As a kid, I would have seen that happen. So there's a lot of serious shit out there. And as I said on the top of the show, however you feel about things and about politics, just remember that you are a human being and you live on a planet with other human beings, with different shapes and sizes and colours and coming from different countries. And basically, you may be different to them, but different isn't bad. Different's a good thing, right? Because we can appreciate and embrace each other's cultures and find out about different types of foods and different mentalities, right? It's not a bad thing. So however you feel, and I understand it's a generational thing. I was brought up by people with racist and homophobic attitudes. And you know what happened? I educated myself. I had their views for many, many years, but then I educated myself. I watched movies and TV where they educated me, not in clunky, DMs, let's upset people kind of thing. No, it wasn't hey white people. It was like proper, thoughtful, intelligent storytelling where they educated young people like me in ordinary, everyday films in the 80s, the 90s, the early noughties, and shows like Doctor Who. That really educated me as well. So what I'm saying to you, no matter your background and how you're brought up and what you're taught to believe, it's wrong. Hatred is wrong. And at the end of the day, we can be a force for good or not. And we can all do this. And this is very important as well, just finishing up this discussion in today's DCEU Daily, that at the end of the day, we are all one. We are all made of flesh and blood, and there are no differences. I'm not superior to you, and you are not superior to me, and, white people are not superior to black people. Nobody's superior. We're all different, and that's a good thing. We need to start pulling together. As I say, it doesn't matter your views or your upbringing or anything like that. You've just got to sit down and look at your fellow person and say, you know what, I embrace you, brother. I embrace you, sister. This hatred is irrational, right? Hurting someone because of the colour of their skin is irrational. It's irrational. Not paying someone the same amount of money as a white person, right, is irrational. It makes no sense. And, we've seen films. We've seen it. How they used to treat black people in the 50s and the 60s, right? They had to used to get on different trains. They had to walk on different sides of the road, right? They weren't even allowed in some bars and restaurants, right? That's America's history. When we talk about the American dream and America's great history, and by the way, that country hasn't got a great long history, by the way. They're a very young country. Well, they're not actually. If we talk about Native America, the Native Indians, and that's something else about Hollywood, isn't it? We used to see these westerns where the Indians were the bad guys and the cowboys, the white Americans, were the good guys. But don't forget, the white Americans, the cowboys, actually stole the land, stole America from Native Indians. So it's very ironic that Hollywood made films that made the natives into the villains. But there you have it. But I'm not trying to promote hatred here. I'm talking about historical facts here. So at the end of the day, if we all live on the planet Earth together, it's not yours, it's not mine. The Earth doesn't belong to us. No country belongs to us. We are just temporarily living here. The Earth will be here after we're gone. Hopefully, if we haven't abused it that much. So I want you all to stay safe. I want you all to social distance. I want you all to be good to each other. And remember, DC Comics, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and all these characters believe in diversity and kindness and compassion. And I want you to do the same as well. Comment down below, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you again soon.